Adam, I had the distinct pleasure this past week to sit down with Dan Hughes. And for those of you that don't know Dan Hughes, he's kind of an OG in the gravel world. He is the 4-time winner of Unbound Gravel. He won the inaugural edition in 2006. Had a really great story about his old bike that was basically a Franken bike, because gravel bikes weren't really a thing back then. We reminisced about, I worked in a bike shop at the time. We just called them pavement bikes. And he talks about how in the realm of gravel, he's like, we didn't really think about racing. We would just go do a century and call it a day, drink some beers, call it a day. And of course, gravel in the United States has evolved into this absolutely incredible, beautiful event. My favorite parts of it being the inclusivity of it and the fact that anybody can come to race a gravel race, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a race. That's one thing that I really enjoyed from my time with Dan, is that, he mentions 90% of the people that participate in a gravel race are going for the completion, and then there's that 10% that are going for the competition. And so I love that. I love, for me personally, that I can line up before, I'm behind Molly Cameron and Laura Stevens and all these top riders who are going to go for the win. And then at the same time, like, hey, I paced myself for 20, 30 miles. Now I get to sit back and hope that I can still get to the finish line after recovering from my flats or, a bonk or whatever. But yeah, I that perspective that he gave me about the spirit of gravel, I think, is why I love the sport so much. And my understanding is that even though, you are a former pro cyclocross racer, you have had some gravel experiences. So I would love to kind of hear your perspective on gravel and kind of maybe what it means to you and what you enjoy about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, one of my favorite events of any kind of all time is the Paris to Ancaster race in the Toronto area, and I've gone up a bunch of times for that. And I think if you live in the northeast of the U.S., gravel for us is a lot of dirt road riding, which we've always done. And so you really covered a lot of ground with him in that interview, and it was really insightful. And I think it's easy to make jokes on the internet about the spirit of gravel, but it's important to come back and take it seriously when it's time to talk about essentially the future of a sport. And I think what's special about gravel and unique about the format right now is in the way that it mirrors marathoning and the running boom in the United States. And if you educate yourself, for people who don't pay attention to running, on how marathoning became so huge and running became a mainstream sport in the US, gravel has that same potential, and it's on that same track where if you want to take it seriously at the front and you want to race and there's prize money and all the things, the trappings of professionalism, you can have that on the same day, on the same course, at the same start line, the same finish line, with folks whose only goal is to get to the finish line, and that is not a given, that it's a sufficient challenge just to participate. And you can ride as hard as you want or take it as seriously as you want. And so to have room for all of that in a single event is really special, and not a lot of sports can provide that, and not a lot of, if any, other cycling disciplines can provide that. So I think everybody's trying to preserve, if there's anything that is the spirit of gravel. Not that I'm qualified to comment on it, but I really appreciated that in his comments and your conversation with him.